South Africa's automotive sector is one of the most important industries in the country's economy, with the automotive trade amounting to 435 billion rand in 2022, comprising 16.5% of trade GDP. The broader automotive industry contribution to GDP was at 4.3% in 2021. And just last year, over 351,000 locally built new vehicles were exported from South Africa. But with the world rapidly moving away from fossil fuels and towards electric vehicles, and South Africa struggling to attract more investments in various sectors as a result of load shedding crisis, is the country ready to keep producing vehicles for the export market at the same rate? For that, we're joined by the new president of the National Association of Automobile Manufacturers of South Africa and the CEO at Isuzu, Billy Tom. Mr. Tom, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Let's talk about the current state, first of all, of the automotive sector. Such an important sector when it comes to the employment of various other industries, the ripple effect that is there. What is the state as you come in to this new role as the first black president of the automotive sector?
Kwani, good afternoon, and good afternoon to the viewers. I think if one reflects on the first half of the year and one looks at the motor vehicle manufacturing key performance indicators, the reflection is that of a close correlation with a stagnant economy. The knock-on effect the electricity supply shortages have had is a vastly known story, and we can feel it, plus the logistical constraints. And all of those are clear indication of the weakness in the economy. And then, on top of that, we've had 10 consecutive interest rates hikes. I mean, we've increased interest rates by 475 basis points, and we're sitting on a 14-year high rate, and plus the rand that has been depreciating over the last year. But however, if we look at our sales for the first 8 months of the year, we've grown by 3.4% versus the same period last year. This is actually a good performance if you look at what the Reserve Bank has been looking at the economic growth of the country at 0.4%. There is always a close correlation between the economic growth and our vehicle sales. The indications are if you grow at less than 1%, you're likely to see a decline. And in our case, we've seen the growth. But where we've seen strain is on the passenger segment because the consumers are under stress, and as a result, it's either they will keep a vehicle longer or they will buy down. And that's been the challenge we have, and people will always, cut back on some of the discretionary spend. But what has been positive for us year to date is the collaboration between business and government. And I mean, 115 big businesses have signed and pledged to collaborate with the government. And it's in three very important areas. The first area is infrastructure and transport logistics, as well as crime, and then and on energy. And I think if we get positive results on these, it will lead to businesses investing, and that will result in an economic recovery. And I'm very optimistic that we will see good results as we go forward.
The picture that you've painted is of a sector that is in recovery since the lows of COVID-19 in 2020, 2021. I want us to move to you being the first black president of Naamsa, now known as the Automotive Business Council. You're not new to being the first black in the automotive space. In 88 years, being the first black president means something. But you, at Isuzu, you became the first black president there, a CEO there as well. What does it mean for you that there is this new role now that black people are playing and taking up that space in the automotive sector? Because black for the sake of black in itself is not enough.
Kolani, it's taken us 88 years to get to here. But to me, it's also a story, a positive story for the country, in the sense that here is someone from a rural background that has made it. And I think my commitment when I started my role at Isuzu 3 years ago, and my commitment now as I start the new role, is to ensure that I become the poster child for hope for those children that have not been able to achieve, to say someone from your community will achieve. And I think I do it in many fronts. I do it by being exemplary, but also most importantly by delivering the results, because we compete for $1, $1 around the world. I work for IMSEF, which is the biggest Isuzu facility outside of Thailand, and it's in Africa. And we export, and if you look at the industry in South Africa, it's a very competitive industry. We produce good quality vehicles. I think my role as I go forward is to ensure that the industry attracts skills, because we've got to make it attractive to people that are outside the industry, not to only think that you've got to have a huge knowledge of vehicles, but it's also about leadership. For Naamsa, I think Naamsa, as you said, it's an organization that is 88 years old. Naamsa has set itself a bold vision. We say we want to be the most credible thought leader and respected partner of a globally competitive and transformed automotive industry. And we've set a few strategic objectives, and one of those is to focus on public policy. Transformation is very key, as you've said it before, data management and resources. And this year we embarked on 4 flagship projects, which we are SA transition to new NEVs, just and reliable energy, logistics and infrastructure, and transformation beyond compliance. And if you look at those flagship projects, they are the topical items. They are the items that will take the industry forward. But my role now as the president is to actively support the Naamsa executive, because remember, there are permanent employees at Naamsa. My role is to ensure that we transform what we've set up as a vision and we execute against it. And I've got to ensure that I bring the Naamsa members, associate members, as well as partners, and ensure that we deliver against that promise.
It's all well and good to have these strategies on paper, and I heard you talking about the move towards electric vehicles. So is South Africa ready? Because there's been talk that we are dithering when it comes to policy and where we need to be. We have many companies here that are exporting: Toyota, Mercedes, BMW, among others, including Ford. Is the country ready? Are we moving towards the right direction when you look at the fact that Europe is saying by the year 2035 the combustion vehicles that we produce in South Africa are not going to be acceptable, and that is just over 10 years from now? How ready are we for that change?
I think one thing, Kolani, we need to take stock of the industry we have. I think we've set up a very strong and something to be proud of. If you look at the vehicles we export, we export vehicles around the world. One of our manufacturers exports to over 100 countries. As a collective, I think we export to about 150 countries. So it's something to be proud of. And also, for every 100 vehicles manufactured in the continent, 53 are manufactured in South Africa. So it's a huge responsibility from our side. But what we've experienced in the last 5 years, we've been very slow on the legislation side. And I think the concern from a lot of the OEMs is that decisions are made outside of South Africa. And we miss an opportunity when those decisions are made. But the good news is we've had indications that the finance minister will be making an announcement on his midterm business plan speech, I think on the 25th of October, which is making us hopeful that we will get some good news for the industry, which is what the industry needs. Because, Polani, you must remember, this is an industry we've built over years, and we don't want the transition to EVs be the end of this industry. And I'm hopeful that the minister will make the right decision.
Mr. Tom, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. We will be hoping to hear from the Minister of Finance next month in the midterm budget policy statement on where the policy is going when it comes to the auto sector.